All right, so let's have a look at CSRF, and I think this is probably one of the last things we'll look at. And we're going to go over, and how do we get back to our categories? You know what we do? We go back. So let's do that. Let's go back to categories. And one of the interesting things here, in fact we can do this on edit, is when we talk about CSRF, and sometimes you see this called XSRF, so cross-site request forgery, we're talking about an attacker tricking the browser into making a request which the user didn't want it to.
Right.
So what could we do with that? When a user is authenticated and they have this authentication token as a cookie, every time the browser makes a request to a domain, the cookie is sent automatically and their authenticated state is sent automatically. Now, if an attacker can get that browser to make a request, it will send that cookie with it automatically. So imagine you're on the attacker's website and you click a button and it makes a post request to this site, it's going to automatically send the authentication token.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I get. Yeah,
so how do we protect against this? And again, this goes into detail in the Hack Yourself First course. But what we can do is we can use an anti-forgery token. And I'm going to show you what that looks like, because if we view your source, and in fact if we just look for forgery, no, you know what, it's request validation. Request verification token.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. So you've got a request verification token in the source, and it is a hidden field and it's got a great big wacky value. And in fact before we would have seen in the cookies as well, we've got a pair there. So if we go into our resources, cookies.
Yeah, request verification.
Request verification token.
Yep.
So what's going to happen is that ASP.NET, and MVC in particular makes this really easy because it's just one little HTML helper on the web page, and then it's a validate anti-forgery token attribute on the controller action. Now, this is a very MVC specific implementation.
That's right, yeah.
Other frameworks have comparable implementations. Now, normally what would happen is we save this page and it's just going to save all the data and everything's going to be fine. If we were to go back here and we were to use our inspector again and we were to hack your page a little bit, and what we want to do is we want to find where that token is. So here we go, request verification token. Let's just take that out. Okay, now let's save.
You can't do that.
I bet you give it a search page. What do we reckon? Oh, wow, see, this is actually the egg. This is the correct page. So I don't wonder if they fixed it while we're doing. Or maybe you've just got different error pages behaving differently. But we have got an exception just by taking out that token.
Yeah.
So basically, this is the native implementation. We would have had something like an anti-forgery validation exception that was raised in code behind. So this page is expecting that token. It's expecting the cookie. It's expecting the token in the source, and it's going to make sure that the pair matches. And the reason it works is because if an attacker forged a request to this site, they wouldn't have that hidden input field. So they could trick the browser into making a request which would automatically send the cookie, but it wouldn't automatically send the correct corresponding input field. So
is this something you see that's not implemented correctly?
So this is implemented correctly.
No, I mean, in this case it is, but is this a common thing?
Oh, yeah. In other places it's very often implemented incorrectly. It's often implemented incorrectly in APIs as well.
Right.
Because people are not thinking about the fact that this can actually happen in an API. And the thing is as well, there's a bit of a tangent, but it's very much dependent on the fact that cookies persist authentication and they're automatically sent with every request. If you build an API and you send, say, a bearer token on every request, so in my AngularJS security fundamentals, we talk about using bearer tokens. Bearer tokens that are sent as part of the authorization request header are not at risk of a CSRF attack because they're not sent automatically with the request. No. You have to construct the request to add the bearer token.
Yeah, right. Okay, well that seems like a better option then. But yeah, certainly with web APIs or APIs, whether they're built as web APIs or not, seem to be a risk in implementing them because developers don't have a front end that they think is being manipulated with.
Yeah, so that's true. They trust that the front end is doing what they designed it to do.
Yeah.
And
that's probably where the risk is.
So what's it saying? Trust but verify. Yes. So assume nastiness.
Yeah.